Save is the first deterministic wealth asset. Um, Here is when math replaces hope. That's the whole thesis. Every investment you ever made required hope. Hope that the market goes up, hope that the CEO doesn't lie, hope the Fed doesn't print. Save doesn't need any of that. The outcome is mathematical. If the protocol is used, save price is going to appreciate. That's it. Let me show you why. Your money is not actually yours. Start with that question. Whose money is in your bank account? Is it yours? In 2022, the Canadian government froze bank accounts of trucker protesters. No trial, no conviction, just frozen. That same year, Visa and MasterCard cut off the entire country, Russia, overnight. PayPal can hold your funds for 180 days, and there's nothing you can do. $2.1 trillion dollars is currently frozen in global sanctions. Your money requires someone else's permission to use. That's not ownership, that is a license. And that's the problem we're trying to solve at Flatcoin. And while they control your access, they also are destroying the value of money. The Fed's balance sheet went from $800 billion dollars to $9 trillion dollars between 2008 and 2024. That's not a typo. That is so extreme. $100 in the year 2000 buys $58 worth of stuff today. The dollar lost 24.1% of its purchasing power in just last 5 years. Every central bank on the planet is doing this. They call this monetary policy, but I call this silent theft. So it gets worse. Every transaction you make is watched, both in the fiat world as well as on blockchains. It is sold. Your bank knows where you eat, what you buy, who you send money to. And now 130 plus countries are exploring CBDCs. And these are central bank digital currencies. That is programmable money where the government can see every transaction in real time. They can freeze it, they can expire it, they can restrict what you buy with it. Financial privacy is disappearing every day. And privacy isn't a luxury, it's a human right. Currently, $150 trillion dollars is trapped in currency silos. If you want to send money from India to Nigeria, you're paying 5 to 7% in remittance fees. Swift takes 3 to 5 days, and billions of people don't even have a bank account. Money is supposed to be a tool for exchange, but the system has turned it into a series of walled gardens where money basically gets trapped. And that's the curse of fiat money. And another major problem I see is that some of you are thinking, oh, crypto solves this and parts of it. But here's the ugly truth: 99% of crypto tokens have zero book value. They have no revenue, they have no treasury, and they don't have any floor price. Look at the numbers. Filecoin is down 99.5%. Polkadot 96.2%. Cosmos down 89.4%. These are not just bear market dips. These are assets that never had anything underneath them. Most tokens are just lottery tickets, not really investments. We are, are building something different. We are building an asset that is backed by real hard assets. Now, before I explain how it works, let me show you what it does. This is a 5-year backtest. Whatever algorithm that we are implementing in Ethereum, we have applied it uh, for the last 5 years and see how flat protocol would have performed. This 5-year backtest using real BLS data, every major currency on earth lost purchasing power. Each and every one of them. There's no exception. And dollar lost 24.1% just the last 5 years. Pound lost 24.2%. Even the Swiss franc, which is supposed to be a honest currency, lost 6.6%. And flat has gained 24.1%. And annual volatility, it achieved with 0.22%. And that gives a Sharpe ratio of 19.91, which is really extraordinary. I'll break it down further um, as you understand the protocol. Let me show you how we have built it. So Flat solves every problem we just walked through. It is private. Ghost tunnel technology means no one sees your transactions. It is inflation protected, pegged to CPI, so your purchasing power grows instead of shrinks. It is permissionless, no bank, no KYC, no one can freeze it. It is borderless, send it anywhere, instantly, for nearly nothing. And it is censorship resistant, deployed on immutable smart contracts that no government can shut down. This is sovereign cash for a digital age, available right now through Flag.cash app. Now, when you transact with cash, let's say $100 bill, it has no history of all the people who owned it. But if you were to do a transaction on the blockchain, on the blockchain, the system tracks all of the transfers. Let's say if 100 USDC is transferred from wallet A to wallet B to wallet C, it knows all of the intermediate transactions. But whereas with flat.cash, we remove the history of money. So here is the revenue engine. So where does the money come from? It comes from two channels. In bull markets, we earn minting fees every time someone buys flat, protocol takes a fee. In bear markets, we run volatility arbitrage. The protocol buys low and sells high around the peg, profiting from the chaos. Revenue in every market condition. Then when 40-30-30 is a flywheel, basically, 40% of the profits are used to buy back Rise token and then deposit into the same mortgage. And this basically increases the safe's book value. And once you deposit your tokens, um, these tokens are basically locked for 10 years. So therefore, it continuously reduces your supply. And 30% of the profits go towards acquiring new liquidity in the same ETH pool. And we also try to acquire liquidity in flat ETH pool, which is our stablecoin. Here's the thought experiment. Tether makes $13 billion profit in 2024. $13 billion. It makes it arguably the most profitable company per employee in the history of capitalism. It is that profitable. But you can't buy those shares. It is a private company. Tether Holdings is completely private and nobody even knows who the actual shareholders are. The profits go to a very small group of insiders. Now imagine if those profits went to the token holders instead, and that is SAVE. SAVE is the equity in a stablecoin protocol. The profits don't go to founders, they go to you because SAVE is the equity. So let's explain this more granularly. So Tether is a private company, keeps all the profits, no privacy, USDT is the product, and revenue from the interest on the reserves. Now, in case of flat protocol, it is a public protocol. Profits go to the SAVE holders, full privacy for all of your transactions, impossible to trace by a ghost tunnel. And flat is our main product, and revenue from the volatility arbitrage plus fees, and that's where we make the money. And it has the same business model, radically different ownership structure. The question is not whether stablecoins are profitable. Tether proves that. But the question is who gets the profits? And in case of flat protocol, the SAVE holders derive all the profits from the protocol. Now, in order to achieve this price rise, we do two things. Rise is the backing asset inside the SAVE vault. So we have a fixed supply of 425 million tokens. No more can ever be minted. And so this is our Genesis funnel. 50% of all of the Rise tokens are locked into a smart contract for 10 years. So therefore, the supply is reduced enormously. And then the other 49% is held by the treasury as the protocol reserves. And only 1% of the supply stays in the Uniswap as a circulating supply. And we deliberately kept it very shallow. So Rise is available on Uniswap for speculators, but the real play is locking it to SAVE and earning the yield. Because SAVE is very liquid, we want to have deep ocean of liquidity in SAVE, but we want to keep the liquidity in the Rise very shallow so that we have a lot of price move. So, so what is ghost mint? So when you mint flat, 100% of your capital flows to reserves, not to the LPs, not to market makers, not to the team, to the treasury, straight to the treasury with zero slippage. In case of any other protocol, whenever you go buy a token, Filecoin, the money doesn't actually go to Filecoin. It goes to the person who is on the other side of your transactions. Whereas in our case, any transaction leads to more money into the treasury. And the treasury holds this particular structure 45% in BTC, 45% in Geom, and 5% in ETH, and 5% in Solana. Compare this to buying on Uniswap, where your capital is going to liquidity providers. Ghostmint sends every single dollar to the protocol's balance sheet. That is how you build a real backing. There is no leakage of money going to any other sources. Now, the new SAVE token is called ERC 4626 standard. Now, it is a new ERC standard which is different from ERC 20. It is a standardized smart contract for yield bearing tokens. It wraps the RISE token. So here is how the flywheel works. 40% of all revenue buys RISE on the open market, and deposits it into the vault, directly increasing the NAV per share. 30% builds flat ETH liquidity pool, and the other 30% builds basically purchases the Save ETH liquidity pool tokens. So this way, and because Save is a ERC 4626 uh, standard token, Save is composable. You can use it as a collateral of a maker compound. It plugs into entire DeFi ecosystem. So what is this concept of battery? So protocol here does not rent its liquidity, it owns it. So because the protocol permanently locks the liquidity pool, it acts like a battery. So in bull markets, the protocol is charging. It is accumulating protocol owned liquidity constantly. In bear markets, it is just discharging the battery. The protocol's own LP positions absorbs the sell pressure and earn trading fees from the panic sellers. Here is the key difference from every other DeFi protocol. The liquidity is owned, not rented. It can't flee. When mercenary capital runs in crash, our liquidity stays, and that's the battery. So this is the slide that matters a lot. So the NAV basically is net asset value of SAVE token equals the total rise in the vault divided by the total number of SAVE shares. The numerator only increases because the total value of rise in the vault will only increase because it is always buying it. And the accumulator deposits more rise with every cycle. And the denominator is fixed. No new SAVE shares are ever minted. It is a mathematical ratchet. The floor can only go up. Every transaction, every fee, every arbitrage profit pushes the floor higher. 3 years of backtesting confirms it. The floor has never dropped. So we have number of mechanisms in the protocol to make sure that the price of save does not go below its net asset value. So what happens in a crash? The ghost mint price equals the maximum of market price or NAV. So if the market dumps below the NAV, the ghost mint automatically closes. It does not allow people to buy save tokens from the protocol. No one can mint new flat at a discount. The only way is to buy it on the open market. And every open market buy pushes the price back towards the NAV. The protocol defends itself. No emergency calls, no governance votes. It is simply automatic. Well, this is my favorite part. Pulse is a public function. In Ethereum, it is called a public function. It is a single solidity function that anyone can call. It is permissionless. It runs every 12 seconds, every Ethereum block. It checks protocol's health. It triggers rebalancing. It executes buybacks. It ratchets the NAV floor upwards 7,200 times a day without any admin keys, no human intervention, and all the code that is run by the protocol is condensed into this pulse, which runs every 12 seconds, like clock. This is like a heartbeat that never stops. It simply measures the protocol health and takes certain actions to make sure that it survives. So we have done number of back tests going back to 5 years based on the real CPI data. In, Now here is the full picture. In 5 year backtest, November 2020 through November 2025, using real BLS data, Bureau of Labor Statistics. Flat moved up by 24%. In case of dollar, it is minus 24. Basically, it's the same amount of money people have lost in dollar. Euro, you lost 19%, 19.5. Pound, minus 24. Yen, minus 9.4. And the volatility is extremely low for a stable coin. It is 0.22%. And the Sharpe ratio, which measures the risk-adjusted returns, is 19.9, which is almost extraordinarily high. And the maximum drawdown it faced was negative 0.41%. It is not even half of 1%. So the numbers speak for themselves, and all of this code and data is open source. Now, SAVE is the equity in the flat protocol. In the 3-year backtest from November 2022 to November 2025, $1 in SAVE has become $4.32. That is 332% total return, 68.1% CAGR. Compare that number to S&P 500, which returned 14.5% annually CAGR. NASDAQ returned 14.4, gold 15.9, Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett himself, 15.8%, and Bitcoin 11.8%. SAVE beat every single one of them, and it did it with a fraction of the volatility that the others have experienced. So risk-adjusted excellence. Returns are one thing, and risk-adjusted returns are everything. SAVE's Sharpe ratio is 3.51. That is the return you get per unit of risk. S&P 500 is 0.76, Berkshire Hathaway is 0.76, gold is 0.96, Bitcoin 0.15. SAVE delivers 4.6 times Warren Buffett's lifetime risk-adjusted return. Maximum drawdown, SAVE, is 8.2%, negative 8.2. This is a spectacular number by any standards. And Bitcoin is negative 77% in the same time period. NASDAQ is negative 33.5%. S&P negative 25. You get higher returns with dramatically less downside. That's not a trade-off. That is dominance. So here is the context. We looked at the top 20 crypto tokens over the last 5 years. Only 6 out of the 20 beat Bitcoin. 13 out of the 20 lost money. Filecoin down 99.5%. Polkadot down 96%. Cosmos 89%. Uniswap down 80%. Cardano 76%. What is the common thread? No revenue. None of them have any revenue to pass to the token holders. No book value. All these tokens have heavy inflation. They are constantly minting new tokens. SAVE is different. Deterministic revenue, rising floor, anti-dilution protection. Most of the crypto is like a lottery ticket, but SAVE gives you constant stream of income. So let me make this personal. SAVE entry price when we launch our Uniswap pools is going to be set to $1. Flat is also going to be set to $1. So based on our 3-year backtest, that dollar became $4.32 in 3 years. And all of our backtest Python code is open sourced. Anyone can verify these numbers. And so if you started with $10,000, it would have grown to $43,200. The same 10K in S&P 500 would have become 19,700. Gold, 21,600. Bitcoin, maybe more, but much more volatile. Savings account, you barely make $10,500. The question is not whether Save outperforms, but the question is by how much. Flat is aspiring to be the next reserve currency to replace dollar. So the TAM, the total addressable market for global reserve currency, is today around $150 trillion. And out of them, remittances, cross-border B2B payments are $35 trillion. Remittances are $700 billion, with 5 to 7% fees that punish the poorest people on earth. Cross-border B2B is huge. The stablecoin market is already $200 billion and growing very fast. Our conservative model, even if we captured 0.1% of global payments, that is $150 billion in annual volume. At 0.5% fee, that is $750 million in annual revenue. And every dollar of that revenue flows through the flywheel into the Save token. So here is the thesis in one sentence. The flat usage creates treasury revenue, right? Because every time someone mints flat tokens, we charge certain mint fees. And treasury revenue triggers rise buybacks. And rise buybacks grow the Save wallet. And the Save wallet floor increases monotonically. The only variable is flat adoption. Everything else is math. The outcome is deterministic. If flat is used, Save is bound to appreciate in price. It is not hope. It is not belief. It is math. Here is the 20-year projection. Path 1, if you have $100 in USD at 3% average inflation, that becomes $55 in purchasing power. Path 2, $100 in flat coin at 4.41% CAGR that we have experienced in the last 3 years. That becomes $238. So at year 20, the flat holders has 4.3 times the purchasing power of the dollar holder. And the gap widens every single year. That is the important point. Time is the enemy of fiat currencies, but time is a friend of flat coin because it keeps on appreciating every year. So why now? So there are three forces that are converging. First is the death of 60-40, where traditionally financial advisors used to ask people to invest 60% into bonds and 40% into equities, etc. But at bond yields are 2 to 4%, while inflation is close to 5 to 7%. So your classic portfolio is underwater all the time. Second problem is there's a rise of CBDCs. Almost 130 plus countries are building total financial surveillance infrastructure. People want an exit. Third, the crypto winter exposed every hollow asset for what it was. The market is ready for something real. Flat is the destination. Save is the equity in that destination. So we are built to outlast its builders. So flat protocol is going to be rolled out in three phases. In the first phase, it is controlled by a multi-sig of the team, 3 out of 5 key holders, human oversight for rapid iteration and bug fixes during launch. In phase two, the governance is carried over to the DAO, we the people DAO, and token weighted voting and community controls with full transparent upgrades. And in phase three, we go into ossification mode. Contracts become immutable. They would have been tested by multiple companies so that we don't need to change anything. There are no admin keys, there are no backdoors, there's no human override. The protocol is designed to outlast its creators. Like Bitcoin, it becomes unstoppable. Smart contracts deployed on Ethereum mainnet, verified on Etherscan. So, Save token is sold at $1 entry price, and the CAGRs in our backtest it showed 68% CAGR. And the Sharpe ratio, uh, re- return for 1 unit of risk, is 3.1, which is extraordinary. And much more interestingly, it achieved these results with just having a minus 8.2% uh, maximum drawdown. Uh, and this is 4.6 times better than Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway. So you can purchase this for $1 today. If you're interested, send an email to team@flat.cash. We're not asking anyone to believe us. We're asking you to verify the math. Thank you for listening to this presentation.